What's in a name? In historical fiction, the right name can bring a character to life. Today, I'm taking you behind the scenes to share how I uncovered the perfect names for my characters in Becoming Mrs. Smith, while blending history, meaning, and a touch of storytelling magic. Stay tuned! Hi, I'm Tanya E. Williams, author of historical women's fiction, and I'm excited to take you behind the curtain with my author notes. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit subscribe and you'll be notified each week when I release new videos covering topics that shape a story idea into a novel readers will enjoy. Character names, like titles for me, are either a lightning bolt of brilliance or a thorn in my side. Some characters appear in my imagination with their names intact, and all I have to do is a little digging to ensure the name is historically appropriate. On occasion, though, I have named a character only to discover that something is amiss with the name. In my novel All That Was, for example, Pastor Michael was always Michael, but he didn't become pastor until the final, and I mean final, days just before the novel published. With Becoming Mrs. Smith, which is the first story in the Smith family trilogy, it is told from the perspective of Violet Sanderson. From a young girl to a young woman, the book follows Violet's life as she navigates love, war, and the future in an uncertain time. It's difficult for me to talk about Violet without mentioning John. So here's the Coles Notes version. John Smith. Yes, that is actually his name, but there's a reason for it, and I promise I will explain why when I talk about character names with regard to A Man Called Smith, which is the third book in the trilogy. John is Violet's everything, and when he goes to war, World War II, she remains on the home front, and the story delves into her response to John leaving. So it's a coming-of-age novella that takes place during the hardships of World War II, but is set in Cedar Springs, South Dakota. This is probably a good time to mention that though Becoming Mrs. Smith was published first and is often read first, I had actually created Violet and John's characters ahead of time, as what you now know as a series began as a single standalone novel in what is A Man Called Smith. Writing a novel is seldom a straightforward adventure, and characters will take you where they take you. In the end, what was once intended to be a single story became a 3-book series. With that little bit of background, let's talk about how I came up with some of the characters' names in Becoming Mrs. Smith. The first thing I usually do is search the time period and the location a story takes place. I drill down to the year a specific character would have been born and research names against the popular baby names of that year. When it came to Violet, she would have been born in 1924. I found her name located on the list at number 88, so the name Violet was the 88th most popular name for baby girls born in the United States in 1924. I should mention that I'm often looking for a unique aspect to the main character's name, which is why I would have gone right past Mary, Dorothy, and Helen from that list. That being said, I do pluck those most popular names of an era for side characters, and Becoming Mrs. Smith features a Helen as one of Violet's best friends. Once I've confirmed I have an era-appropriate name, I dig into the meaning of the name. It's like a little hidden nugget that resonates with the character I'm creating. The name Violet is closely tied to the concepts of intuition, transformation, and connection. If you've read the story, you may recognize all 3 of those mentions having shown up in Violet's trajectory throughout the story. The best thing, in my opinion, about Violet's name has essentially been a secret. Until now. I wanted to connect Violet's lineage purposely. Because I knew how the story was going to unfold, I wanted something to knit Violet's side of the family together. Authors call these Easter eggs. They are hidden elements that have been woven into a story purposefully by an author, but aren't necessarily spotted by all readers. Spoiler alert, If you haven't read the trilogy yet, I'm about to spill some tea about outcomes at the end of the story. Not all the spoils, mind you, but if you haven't read the books yet, you might want to hit pause and come back to this video after you've read the series. Violet's name is also the name of a flower. That part's pretty evident, as I imagine most of us know what violets look like. You may have even noticed that Violet's sister has a flower name too. She is called Iris. Digging deeper though, Violet names her daughter Calla, which when added to Lily becomes the name of the flower calla lily. But wait, there's more. When Violet gives birth to a son, he is named Jared. What you might not know is that Jared is also the name of a small flowering bush called the Boronia purple Jarret. I fully admit it was a bit of a search to find a flower name for a boy and still have it make the popular boys' name list, which consequently, Jarret was number 989 on the list in 1948. And since fictional Jared was born in April of 1949, I reasoned that Violet might have conceived of the name while pregnant. And there you have it, the history, the meaning, and the magic that went into giving my Becoming Mrs. Smith characters their names. What about you? How do you feel when your name pops up in the pages of a novel? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe, as that lets YouTube know that you like this content. Now, go ahead, go back to reading your book.